Let me ask you a question. Who are you? A bit of a cliche question, I know, but I urge you to really think about it. Who are you? And what does it mean to be you? This is the most constant and prominent question in Rick and Morty. There is no other one that tops it. This question of individuality and what actually determines your place in the world is literally baked into the show. You can see it in every frame, you can hear it in every sentence, and you can feel it in every character. In this video essay, we will take a deep dive into what it really means to live in the world of Rick and Morty, and just what infinite possibilities actually amount to. In a universe where there are so many others like your own, where you are not the only you, how do you set yourself aside as an individual? Well, Rick, he rebels, not only against the government powers that be, not only against the universe, but he even rebels against himself. We can see this when we are introduced to the Citadel in Season 1, Episode 10. Rick and Morty are framed for killing other Ricks and get captured and brought to the Citadel for questioning. Here we see what Rick thinks of the other Ricks and in turn himself. He says that his rebellious nature is what sets him apart from the rest of them, that because he refuses to join the Citadel, that makes him the Rickest Rick of them all. This is Rick establishing his individual identity. It doesn't matter how many Ricks there are. He deems himself the most Rick because of the actions that he takes, the stands that he takes, and the hills that he will die on. Unlike Morty, who we see in the exact same episode derive his individuality from Rick himself. The Rickest Rick would have the Mortiest Morty, right? And Morty just kind of rolls with it. However, this isn't the case further on in the series. Later we see that it's Morty's separation from Rick where he finds his true individuality. We see much less codependency in Morty as the show goes on, and thus a sort of autonomous awakening happens inside him. He is no longer just Rick's sidekick, his little helper. He is a full fleshed out character in his own right, and more than capable of taking care of himself. This autonomy Morty awakens is in essence him fighting for his own individuality in a reality where he's constantly told that he is replaceable. The last myth I wanted to touch on was, of course, Beth. She literally has a fight with herself to establish who's the real Beth and who is the clone. How did we get here, though? Well, she was of two minds. On one hand, she wanted to live her best life and be the individual she always wished she could be. On the other hand, she wanted to stay with her family. In the end, she has a fight with herself. Literally two sides of her brain duking it out to prove to herself that she made the right choice, whether that be staying or leaving. In the end, she finds out that it didn't really matter, that she was herself whether she stayed or left, that nothing really changed in the end. She was still Beth, one individual now made into two, but of the same mind still. Individuality is such a tricky thing in Rick and Morty. There are infinite universes with infinite versions of everyone, and I can understand why Rick just doesn't really care at the beginning of the show. And in a sense, he was right. It really doesn't matter, unless you make it matter, unless you start to care. Thanks for watching.